The crystal chandeliers above sparkled like fallen stars as the music faded into uneasy silence. The grand ballroom, once alive with laughter and champagne toasts, froze in a moment of disbelief. The woman in the wheelchair trembled, her diamond necklace catching the light as her voice cracked through the tense air. "Please, don't hurt me. I can't walk." Her plea wasn't just out of fear, it was the sound of years of buried pain suddenly escaping into the open. And as everyone turned toward her, the janitor, the quiet man who mopped floors in the background every evening, finally dropped his broom and stepped forward, his eyes dark with a secret that would change everything. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to American Folktales, because sometimes, even the people we overlook carry the greatest stories of redemption. Her name was Clara Winslow, a woman who had climbed the jagged ladder of corporate power with bruised hands and an iron will. At 38, she was the CEO of Winslow Dynamics, one of the most prestigious tech firms in the city. To the world, she was a symbol of brilliance and strength, a woman who conquered boardrooms and broke barriers. But behind the elegance and sharp confidence, Clara carried a quiet torment that no one ever saw. An accident 3 years ago had left her paralyzed from the waist down. The car crash had taken not only her ability to walk but also her faith in humanity. Her fiancé had left her weeks after the accident, and colleagues who once admired her brilliance now whispered behind her back, treating her success as sympathy rather than skill. Clara buried her pain under designer suits and business awards, never letting the world see her weakness. But there was one place where her walls would crack, late at night in the glass tower of her company, when she was alone, staring at the empty skyline, wondering if power meant anything without peace. That night, the company was hosting its annual gala, an event Clara dreaded but couldn't avoid. The ballroom shimmered with wealth, filled with faces smiling out of ambition rather than affection. Her wheelchair glided across the polished marble as she exchanged polite smiles, but every handshake felt hollow. Then her eyes caught someone at the far corner, a man in a faded blue uniform, pushing a mop, his sleeves rolled up, revealing the kind of hands that worked for survival, not luxury. His name tag read Eli Carter. He looked older than most janitors, maybe in his early 40s, with tired eyes that seemed to hide both weariness and wisdom. Most people ignored him, but there was something about the way he moved, calm, deliberate, almost graceful, that made Clara look twice. When a waiter accidentally spilled a drink near her chair, Eli rushed over, quietly kneeling to clean it up. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said softly. She smiled faintly, surprised at how gently he spoke, as if he were used to treating broken things with care. Over the next few weeks, Clara noticed Eli more often. He was always there, cleaning before dawn, fixing things no one else bothered to notice, moving with quiet dignity. Sometimes she'd catch him staring out the window after his shift, lost in thought. There was an unspoken sadness in his eyes that mirrored her own. But Clara never asked. She was too afraid to let anyone see her compassion again. Until one afternoon, when everything changed. The board meeting that day was brutal. Investors were furious about a failed product launch. Voices rose, fingers pointed, and finally, a senior director, a man named Ronald Pierce, slammed his hand on the table and shouted, "Maybe the problem is leadership. Maybe we need someone who can stand up for this company." The words cut through her like a blade. The room went silent. Ronald's face paled as he realized what he'd said, but it was too late. Clara's chest tightened, she excused herself before tears could betray her. She wheeled herself down to the lower maintenance floor, somewhere she could breathe. There, in the dim light and smell of cleaning solution, she saw Eli. He looked up from mopping, concern flickering across his face. "Rough day?" he asked quietly. Clara almost ignored him, but something in his voice, the kindness, the understanding, made her stop. The floodgates opened. She told him everything. About the accident, the pain, the loneliness, the weight of pretending she was fine. He listened in silence, never interrupting, never judging. When she finally paused, Eli said something she didn't expect, "You don't have to stand to rise again." His words lingered with her for days. For the first time in years, Clara felt seen, not as a CEO, not as a symbol, but as a person. She began talking to Eli more often, sharing coffee breaks in quiet corners, laughing about small things she hadn't laughed at in years. She even noticed her company slowly shifting, her compassion for employees grew, and so did their loyalty. It was as if Eli's quiet wisdom had breathed humanity back into her cold empire. But every time she asked him about his own life, he deflected. Nothing worth telling, he'd say. Just trying to make things right. Then came the night of the confrontation, the night the truth came out. The gala was in full swing when security rushed to Clara, whispering that a man had been seen near the vault storage area. Theft was suspected. When she arrived at the scene, she froze. It was Eli, holding a small velvet box. Security surrounded him. Clara's heart broke in disbelief. "Why?" she whispered. Eli looked at her, eyes heavy with guilt. "Because it belonged to you," he said quietly, opening the box to reveal a locket, her mother's locket, lost in the car crash years ago. "I found it," he continued, "at the site of your accident." The room erupted in confusion. Guests whispered, guards tightened their grip. "You were there?" she asked, trembling. Eli nodded slowly. "I was the first one who reached your car that night. I pulled you out before it exploded. I tried to visit you at the hospital, but your family kept reporters and strangers away. I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was working a delivery job, driving too fast on the same road." He swallowed hard, tears filling his eyes. "It was my truck that hit you." The air vanished from the room. Clara's fingers gripped her chair. Her mind spun, anger, disbelief, pain. You did this to me," she whispered. Eli nodded, his voice breaking. "I wanted to die that night too. But when I saw you, broken, bleeding, still trying to move, I swore I'd spend my life making it right. That's why I took this job here. I just wanted to protect you, even from a distance." Gasps echoed through the crowd. The same employees who once mocked him now stood frozen, unsure of who the villain was anymore. Clara's eyes blurred with tears. The man she'd come to trust, who had quietly mended her spirit, was the one who had shattered her life. Yet, as she looked at him, shaking, remorseful, begging for forgiveness, something inside her changed. Years of bitterness, pain, and pride melted into a strange peace. She remembered his words, "You don't have to stand to rise again." Maybe this was what he meant, that healing wasn't about revenge, but release. She took a deep breath, her voice steady but soft. "I forgive you," she said. The room fell silent. Eli dropped to his knees, weeping openly. "You don't owe me that," he murmured. Clara smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But I owe it to myself." The next morning, Clara announced something that stunned everyone. She promoted Eli, not as a janitor, but as the new head of employee relations, the man responsible for rebuilding compassion within the company. "Because sometimes," she said during the press conference, "the ones who clean our floors end up teaching us how to clean our souls." And for the first time in years, she felt whole. Not because she had power, but because she found peace. If this story touched your heart or reminded you that forgiveness can rebuild even the deepest wounds, please like, share, and subscribe to American Folktales, where stories of courage and compassion come alive every day. Before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe everyone deserves a second chance? Because sometimes, the most broken hearts create the strongest souls.